equal love fest because I love my fans. I cannot tell you how much I love my fans. They sometimes at night I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, what's it all about, you know? And then I get a letter from a fan, or I read something, or I see something, or I remember something, and I realize it's so lucky to have fans who really care about you. And that's the reason I care so much about the fans.
Comic books are amazing, aren't they? They allow us to have an escape from the problems of our world and look into the lives of others. While Marvel dominates the cinematic universe, we mustn't forget about the comics they originated from, and the man who helped establish that universe. A man who is known as many things: writer, actor, producer, but to us, most importantly, friend. Stanley Martin Lieber was born in New York City in 1922. Growing up during the Great Depression, life wasn't always easy, so Stan made up for it by writing. He worked many small writing jobs until 1939 when he got an internship at Timely Comics. His duties were nothing special, but he worked hard at it to make an impression, and in 1941 he got his first chance to write stories under the given pseudonym Stan Lee in Captain America Comics number 3. While it was only a filler issue, he established two things: the name that his fans would come to know him by for years and years, and Cap's iconic shield throw. By the mid-1950s, Timely Comics was going under since comics weren't selling like they used to. But just as DC had started to revive the superhero genre, Lee's publisher gave him the task of creating a new superhero team. He was stumped at first. He had the team, but he had no idea of how to make them more interesting. His wife suggested that he experiment with the stories he preferred to see, since he was planning on changing careers and had nothing left to lose. Using this, Lee wrote his superheroes to be more realistic, with a flawed humanity, a departure from the usual superhero archetype. Before this, most heroes had an idealistically perfect personality, with no serious or lasting problems. Lee introduced complex, naturalistic characters who could have bad tempers, fits of melancholy and vanity. They bickered amongst themselves, worried about paying their bills and impressing girlfriends, got bored, or were even sometimes physically ill. He also opted to have his characters and their stories take place in the real world, something that was completely unheard of before then.
Even if they have superpower, they have to be believable. What they do has to be what any normal person would do in those situations.
Co-created by Jack Kirby, the team then became the Fantastic Four, and with their immediate popularity, Lee's publisher ordered him to produce more heroes. Working with Kirby again, Lee co-created the Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, and the X-Men, with Bill Everett, Daredevil, and with Steve Ditko, Doctor Strange, and Marvel's most successful character, Spider-Man, all of whom lived in a thoroughly shared universe. Lee and Kirby gathered several of their newly created characters together into a team that would be known as the Avengers, who would revive characters from the 1940s such as the Submariner and Captain America. Lee's revolution extended beyond the characters and storylines to the way in which comic books engaged the readers and built a sense of community between fans and creators. He also introduced the idea of crediting people who worked on the comics, which at the time was still relatively unheard of. He also presented the idea of having a news and letters section in the back of comics. Lee remarked that his goal was for fans to think of the comic creators as their friends and considered it a mark of success on this front at a time when letters to other comic publishers were typically addressed Dear Editor, letters to Marvel addressed the creditors by their first names.
In writing the soapboxes, I used to just talk to the readers, anything that came to my mind, just to make the books not seem like something cold and aloof and it's something you buy and you throw away. I wanted them to feel buying a Marvel book was like visiting an old friend.
By 1961, Timely Comics had completely moved on from their original crime and adventure stories and had gone full force into capes and costumes. Everyone working there at the time decided they needed a change and a banner to house all the heroes. They looked to earlier works from Timely and settled on Marvel Comics Group, or Marvel Comics for short. The gears were now in motion. Marvel was going full force into publishing stories and expanding their universe, getting more cosmic and epic as the years went on, adding characters from every walk of life, and giving readers new and amazing stories for years to come. And with that, the rest is history. Lee shaped an entire era and redefined comics forever, showing us that not only can a hero be flawed, but could be similar to the average person. From a genius billionaire playboy philanthropist to a broke high schooler from Queens, or even a guy from New York with stories to tell. Even though he's gone, he left behind a legacy that will outlast us all. To a lot of people, he'll be the guy in all the superhero movies, but not to us. To the true believers, he's so much more. Thank you, Stan, for everything.
You know, I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.